It's the beginning of another month, and that means it is time to do my new product roundup and giveaway. Yes, we are going to go through and round up a whole bunch of new products that have come out in the last month. Not a full review, just a quick look, some off-the-cuff thoughts, and just basically let you know that these things are out there and you might be interested in them. And at the end of the video, I will do a giveaway. I will announce a giveaway. We're going to give away one of these products to more than one winner usually. So stick around or check out the table of contents in the video description. These are always super long. And so we'll put a table of contents in the video description, and YouTube's got this thing it does where it shows you the chapter markers in the timeline. So you could even just skip around and focus on the products you're most interested in if you prefer. But before we get started, I say we, and there is a we. It's not just the royal we. I am here again this month with my co-host, Patrick It's Blunty. Thank you for being here, man.
Thank you, Joshua. How's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm very good. I'm glad you were able to come back. I feel like talking to myself for an hour is not as much fun as having you to sort of bounce things off of, and you bring a lot of stuff to the episode, new information, new products.
Yeah, so, man, I really like doing this, so let's get to it.
Yeah. I see you have your dog in the background, by the way.
That's
super.
That's
way
Henry.
cuter than any of us. I'm just going to gaze at him for a minute. Okay, anyway, let's do it. Here's where we're going to start today. The Skyzone Sky04X. And I want to start with this because Skyzone sent me. I reviewed the Skyzones, the Eachine EV300O. And I was like, yeah, this is basically the same goggle as the Skyzone Sky04X. And then Skyzone sent me the 04X. And what do you think? Do you want to guess whether they are exactly the same goggle, pretty much?
I know they are not the exact same goggle. They're pretty much the same goggle, right? But I believe the screens are different. I think that's the main guy. That
is correct. The Sky04X has a larger, it's like a 45-degree field of view, and I think it's 1280 by 960 resolution. Same as the HDO2.
Yeah, so Skyzone's finally competing against the HDO2 now, it seems, because we've got module bay, and this thing even comes with a module, right?
It does. It comes with the Rapid Mix module, which is manufactured by Skyzone, and in my testing, it did better than the Fusion and the Rapid Fire in some circumstances, and worse in others, but that's still saying a lot.
Yeah, compared to the cost of those on top of an HDO2 when you purchase it, I definitely think it's pretty cool that they're including a receiver that's anywhere near acceptable.
Yeah.
I think they're I think they're calling it the Sky Fusion as opposed to the Rapid Mix, but it's supposedly the same receiver. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I wouldn't want to get that wrong. My read on it is that Skyzone made these goggles for Eachine. Maybe Eachine manufactures them. Maybe Eachine just rebadges them. I don't know. They're so identical in every way except the screens, larger field of view and higher resolution. It's a $50 price difference between the Sky04X and the Eachine EV300O. Would you pay $50 to go from like a 38-degree field of view to a 45? And I think it's 1280 by 720
100%
to 960.
Yeah, these seem like
$50?
Yeah, these seem like way better than the 300O just for the place everything falls in.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Eachine is a great goggle at $450, but I feel like it's a no-brainer to spend $50 more on the Skyzone, especially because, as you can see here, the Skyzones are available, well, from Banggood, of course, and so is the Eachine, but the Eachine is not available from any U.S. domestic vendors. I don't know about Europe. And I asked, and I'm not going to name names as to who I talked to, but basically the person I talked to said there's no margin. Eachine doesn't give any margin, so you can basically only buy them from like Banggood and so forth. Whereas the Skyzone, as you can see, is available in the US, presumably in Europe, and of course from Banggood if you prefer.
All right, so next up, let's look at TBS Tracer. That came out recently. If you guys want to know more about TBS Tracer, we have a lot of information on the FPV news that me and Joshua do on Tuesdays. We just did an episode that you can check out for more information on the details of Tracer.
Yeah, Tracer is a new control link from TBS. It's kind of like Crossfire, but it's in 2.4 gigahertz, kind of a competitor to Ghost, Immersion RC Ghost. Similar but different in some ways. I guess the big question, Blunty, that a lot of people are going to be asking is, should I switch from Crossfire to Tracer? I know we talked about that some in the FPV news, but what's the brief answer to that? What do you think?
No. I mean, my answer is no. I think if you're on Crossfire, you should not switch. And Trappy even said that specifically in the last live stream he did a day or two ago. If you're on Crossfire, do not switch unless you really feel the need to. If you want to buy some new stuff and you want to support TBS, then that's an option. But I think everybody's going to be happy on Crossfire, and most pilots are not going to tell the difference in latency. Trappy said he only tells the difference in Crossfire shot, but he can't barely tell 50 to 150, much less any higher than that. So,
yeah, I guess a big motivation to move would be if you regularly have problems with Crossfire. Like, for example, if you're in Europe and you're flying at races in the 868 megahertz band, then there's so little bandwidth there, you can end up with congestion and fail safes. And like, that's a situation where somebody might be like, yes, please. Or if you like fly a lot of tiny whoops and you really just, the Crossfire antenna is too big and heavy and you're like, I just need something else. But for a typical user, Crossfire is fine. Then again, if you're just getting started, maybe Tracer's something to look at. And we'll put a link to the FPV news down in the video description if you want to get more in depth. Well, as long as we're talking about high performance 2.4 gigahertz control links, there's Tracer and there's Immersion RC Ghost. And Immersion RC Ghost has released a new receiver today or this month. It is the Zepto. And I don't think you can truly appreciate this freaking thing without seeing how small it is. Okay, there you go. There you go. That's how freaking small this thing is. So for people doing micros, this is pretty freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, TBS isn't doing anything like this right now. For what it's worth, they've said they can, but they are not interested in it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Trappy has said a few times that he doesn't really understand why people want something this small. So I think if you wanted this from TBS, you would need to let them know. Because
I mean, we've seen that before with like the MMCX connector on the Unifies, which they resisted for a long time, said it wasn't necessary, said it had downsides. People demanded it. Eventually they got it. I don't know what's the solution for flying like a very small quadcopter. I mean, Crossfire receiver is like 2 grams.
Yeah.
I guess for a whoop that matters.
Yeah, it's just difficult because I think even on just the most recent stream trap, he said something like, I'm not too worried about, small craft like this because you're not flying that far with them anyway. You're flying SBUS range, you're flying with, a FreeSky receiver and you're totally fine. So that seemed to be his attitude with it. But again, if you guys want something like this, I would definitely reach out to TBS about this sort of thing because Ghost seems to be going straight down this path. So
Yeah, for sure. The people who fly Crossfire definitely just want to fly Crossfire.
Yeah.
or Tracer. They don't want to put.
I 100% agree. I would love to put Crossfire. I would love to see Crossfire integrated whoop boards and stuff like that. And, I think we're not going to see that unless we push for it. But Ghost is obviously working towards that. And it's pretty cool to see. So,
speaking of receivers, here is a receiver that I'm pretty excited about. It's the Happymodel Speki Plus 12-channel SBUS DSM2 DSMX SRXL compatible Spectrum receiver. Most Spectrum receivers, the micro receivers especially, don't have great range. And the fact that they output whatever DSM, etc., can be a problem, especially on some smaller flight controllers. So I don't know about the range of this one. I did have one person say that he's actually said, Bardwell, it's really irresponsible of you to recommend the 4650. It has terrible range. And I use this one and I think it's good. I'm like, okay, so that's a sample size of 1. But the other thing about this is the fact that it outputs SBUS as well as DSM, DSMX, and SRXL means that if you have a flight controller with an SBUS pad, you can use it even though you're running Spectrum. And that's kind of cool. Especially F4 flight controllers maybe have that limitation.
Awesome. No, that's super cool.
Yeah, so it's a weird solution to a specific problem, but there are people out there with that problem, and maybe this is a good solution for them.
So moving on to BetaFPV, they released a X-Knight 360 quad. This is one of the seamless quads for the 360 cams.
Yeah, so kind of like it reminds me of the StanFPV Cinebird, which I did an interview with Stan, and the Cinebird is a pretty cool frame. Holds a 360 camera so that you basically can't see the quad at all.
Yep.
BetaFPV reached out to me about reviewing this, and my first thought was that it just looks super clunky. Just looks super clunky.
This seems to me like, hey, we need to get something out. Let's build something that fits all these criteria, but maybe isn't the most thought out product. I think you can see that in Nurk's review. Nurk did a review of this if you want to kind of get a better insight into how this thing works.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's a whole Nurk's review was not very positive. We should put a link to Nurk's review since we're referencing it. Things like having to take screws out to take the camera out. The camera really needs to go in and out easily. In a crash, I think some screws fell out. He didn't even crash it. No. And just a landing.
Yeah.
The camera came loose. It's just StanFPV executed so well on this idea, you may as well just go with his. So nice try, BetaFPV, but I think that's going to be a no. Speaking of StanFPV, he has his own website. So he has a store with his own website, but he is also now his whole product line is carried at RaceDayQuads. Why does this motor have one? Is this motor have one-star review because someone had a problem with the motor, or are they mad about his little tiff with Bob Ruge? Let's find out. Do you want to place a bet?
I would guess they're mad at the tiff. I can't. One review.
one-star review. Where's the review? Oh no.
Yeah. I mean that's Bob's complaint. Exactly.
That's his whole complaint.
His underpowered desync issues, I tested these, that's what happened.
You tested them too?
No, that's what Bob says. He says, when I tested these motors, they got desyncs when I got to this size. Like, that's specifically what he described happened and why he didn't produce this motor.
So the 2604, is this the motor that Bob and Stan were working on together?
I believe so. At least the pancake motor design they've been working on together for quite a while. And it seems like this is from that world. And I know that Bob released a little bit of information in a video about 5-inch motor design and just said that he tested a lot of these sizes and they were not reliable. They had desync issues, and when you pushed them to limits, they fell out of the sky, and he didn't feel comfortable releasing these motors, at least in some sizes. So I would maybe go look at that information, and that would be FPVCycle. To kind of get both sides of the situation.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We don't know that. I will say pancake motors in general, there is some truth to them. The 2203 is a really good motor for like 3-inch, for some 3-inch builds. There definitely is some truth to it. Maybe just not in the 2604 size.
I think they say like 3-inch, 4-inch, and like light 5. I think like a toothpick 5, like a power pick.
Yeah.
Is the 2203 pancake. And then you're supposed to go up to the 2604 is StanFPV's recommendation for a 5-inch.
Be that as it may, maybe that 2604 motor is not a hit, but StanFPV does have some really cool products. His Cinebird invisible frame is pretty impressive, and it is now available not just from his website, which I've got here. He's got some other stuff there as well, but also from RaceDayQuads, and is being carried by GetFPV. Now, we've been talking about StanFPV, but the other guy that is worth mentioning is Bob Ruge Kebab FPV. And we got a similar situation there where he has his own store at FPVCycle.com, but in addition, if you prefer to order from RaceDayQuads, or if you're outside of the US, it's also being carried by Team Black Sheep, and he has some really good frames and some really interesting and innovative motors. I don't know. Do you think Bob is one of the smartest motor designers working today? Leading question.
I think yes. And I think that the innovation, both Stan and him are working together on a lot of things, and they're working separately on different projects. I think regardless of what comes out of it, this innovation and this work and testing of different motor types and having people run all these different prototypes and things are really just positive for the industry. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, I agree. He tests more motors than, like, people send me a set of motors to test and I'll kind of fly them and go, yeah, I kind of like this, I didn't like that. But Bob will go to the manufacturer and say, I need a 2202, a 2203, a 2204, 5, 6, a 23. He just wants the whole matrix. Yep. And then he just flies them all.
And then also, like, what bearing size can you fit in here, and why are the magnets this size, and how big can the stators be? Like, all those kind of things. He's always making those considerations when he's making a new motor design, and I just think it's really beneficial for the industry.
Yeah, no doubt. So especially in the micro category, but in addition, he's got some 5-inch frames. The Glide, the FPVCycle Glide, is one of the most popular freestyle frames, but he's doing a lot of work with the toothpick size. 3-inch and so forth. So
while we're talking about FPVCycle, we should definitely discuss the Babytooth. I know you're getting one of these for review from Bob Rookie, in addition to the Savagebee, which is both this 1S platform. Now, we definitely have to say that Bob seems to have pioneered at least a modern 1S platform in the Babytooth frame, and I personally love to fly these quads. They're one of my favorite quads to fly because you can fly them anywhere, and nobody cares, and they're super quiet, and they last forever, and they don't hit very hard when you hit them on the ground.
Yeah, I have to say, when I think of 3-inch quads, you tell me you've got a 3-inch prop on a 1S battery. I know that that's a thing, but my first reaction is that that's just a bad combination. That a 1S battery just can't have enough power to drive a 3-inch prop.
I think that's why it took so long to see it, But it was definitely a revolution, I think it's a great thing, and everybody I see build them really enjoys them a lot, and this is just another thing in the step of Bob is trying to innovate the industry. Bob's trying to make new products. A lot of other companies are just trying to make whatever, or clone or copy, and Bob is trying to make new products, and I think it's really cool.
Well, you're definitely right about that. The Babytooth specifically, he sells the frame, and he also has, you can kind of see it in here, a custom designed 1S flight controller with a flight controller and ESC on a single board made just for that frame. But he doesn't actually seem to sell the kit, the whole kit. What he's actually got is a build log and product list that you can get the parts separately. Whereas the Newbeedrone Savagebee, it's clearly sort of cut from the same mold. It's a 1S 3-inch, but it is an all-in-one by Newbeedrone, just a kit that you buy and bind and fly. But I've got both of these, and we'll be reviewing them and letting you know what I think. So.
Is that Savagebee a bind and fly, or is that a build kit? Because I don't know if they sell a bind and fly version, do they?
Well, it's a good question. It does say a lightweight 3-inch build. Oh, it is a build video. How are they not sell? They sell everything as a bind and fly. I'm shocked they're not selling it as a bind and fly.
I'm not.
But there you go. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Great. I have to build. I mean, I get to build it. No, you're right. It's only a build kit. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I should mention at this point that I know a couple of people who have built the Savagebee, and it does seem like a cool quad, but there are some caveats to the build process. I'm interested to see you build this and review it, just to see what you think about the process, because
you're not going to tell me what the caveats are.
As far as I could tell, you're working around motor plugs. You're soldering motors directly. So the board has motor plugs on it, and you have to remove them or solder around them.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's my understanding of the process. Again, I'd love to see your review and see what it actually works out for you, but that's what I've heard.
Why would you? They made their own. This is their flight controller, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Why would you put plugs on it and then be like, "Nah, don't use those"?
I don't have an answer.
Right now, someone at Newbeedrone is going, "No, we had a good reason." Bardwell, what are you doing?
I mean, Newbeedrone makes good products, so I have to assume there is some reason they would do this, whether it's production or the product. But
I'm going to guess they intend that flight controller to be used in other builds, and people want plugs. I don't mind the plugs, but some of them will have a plug and then 3 pads that you can solder to without removing the plug. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I believe this is the B-Brain Brushless V2 board, and that's the board that's in there. B-Brain Brushless V2 with plugs. So.
Well, there's one more 1S toothpick that we got to look at, and I don't know a darn thing about this one. It just showed up in the new products listing, which is always what I go look for when I get ready to do these videos. This is the Happymodel Crux 3. It is a 3-inch, clearly toothpick style design. Let's see. What is it, 1S or 2S? Let's have a look here. 6400 kV. That's going to be, well, you can run it on 1S, but can run it on 2S.
Yeah, that's going to be
motor.
more of a 2S, I think, compared to the Babytooth, because the
Yeah.
Babytooth is like 11,500, I think, and
Yeah.
that is run on 1S, so it's about right on
Yeah.
2S.
1202 motor. 41 grams. I don't have a lot to say about it. Just want to point out that it exists. Being sold by Happymodel. Happymodel hit or miss in terms of quality. Sometimes hit, sometimes miss. Wouldn't be my first go-to usually. But there you go. $100. How's that compare to the Savagebee?
You have to build it for 120.
Oof. Well, that's Newbeedrone for you.
Yep.
It's probably better quality though.
Definitely better. I would say definitely better quality.
Yeah. And I mean, like, not to say that Newbeedrone is perfect. What was the freaking quad they were selling and the flight controller was dying? There was one of their bind and flies. And they were like replacing flight controllers for people. They had a defective batch, but at least they were out there replacing them. Whereas
the Hummingbird F4 Pros had that issue. And they recognize that, and I think they're like hot selling their flight controllers right now. For the ones that are messed up.
Yeah. What do you mean hot selling?
Like they're selling them cheap and they have a warning that's like, hey, this SPI receiver will break. Just use it as a FCESC.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you got to get rid of them, but at least they acknowledged it. Doesn't feel good if you're the person who bought it and then it died on you. But there's always going to be
good on that.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Like some companies, half the products they make break, and you're like, I'm never buying from them again. But nobody has a 100% hit ratio, and the question is just what are they going to do to make it right when it goes wrong?
So speaking of toothpicks, iFlight just released the new Beast line, the F7 and H7 AIO for toothpicks. These look pretty interesting because now we have an F7 and an H7 in this form factor, and the prices are, fairly expensive, but they're definitely something that I don't think we've seen a lot of. I think BetaFPV will look at in a second released an F7 as well.
Yeah, these all-in-one flight controllers, I just don't know what to make of them. We've seen some of these made before, for full-size 5-inch quads, and they like one of the Racer Star had one, and then GetFPV rebranded as the Lumenier Alpha, I think. And the problem is when you put this much electronics on a single board, reliability, durability has to go down. But these guys are tailored. These are 25 millimeter boards, and they're tailored for toothpicks. They're not made for big 5-inch quads. And so in theory, with the smaller props, lighter motors and so forth, they can handle it. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things too about an AIO is, maybe we'll see better reliability from these or from future products. I think anybody who's using an AIO for any length of time expects them to die at some point. If you're putting a decent amount of energy through it, like if you're building a regular 5-inch with an AIO, like even a 30x30, I think you're kind of expecting for it not to last forever. But that being said, like you're doing this for weight, and I think these are constantly improving. I think the FETs are getting better quality, the board layouts are getting better, people are figuring out heat management, and so this is just a positive direction. And the fact that, again, we have an H7 on this size of board is really interesting because maybe we'll see a better development because of that.
Yeah. I can't believe, you can see here they're using are these metal FETs? No. They're using high quality FETs. They've really clearly put a lot of thought into the board design. Boot button behind the USB is not my favorite, but I guess you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it looks like there's no room left to work with on this thing.
Right. Well, the good news is there won't be anything on top of it, hopefully. Maybe a video transmitter. Yeah. What are you going to do? iFlight's always really generous with their pad layout. Got one full UART, R4, T4, 2 full UARTs.
They even hung a UART off the corner because they needed.
Oh my God.
I really think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. What do you think of the amp rating? 45 and 55 amps.
This is where you need to be. This is definitely the pocket you need to be in if you're going to try to do this. I think if you're going to buy a board like this, just oversize it. And this is a great option for that. Again, like if you lose this board, you're going to lose $70 or $90. So you still got to make that decision. But if you're in the market for a toothpick board and you're already spending 50, it might not be that crazy to spend 70 for a 45 amp, rated FETs for an F7, a lot of pads, a lot of accessibility and stuff. This definitely seems like an interesting option for a lot of people.
The H7 versus the F7. A lot of people are going to wonder, should I? People ask me, my flight controller, JBF7. Oh, did that come out this month? Yeah, JBF7 is available at RaceDayQuads right now. It's even in stock. So, we'll have to put that in the roundup. Just Tyler will be mad at me if I don't. People ask me, why didn't you put an H7 in it? And I said, Betaflight doesn't really do anything that needs an H7. Like if you look at Clean Flight, Dominic Clifton has done some cool things with the H7 that nobody else can do. And you can't take that away. But overall, there's just not a compelling reason for the H7. And like literally it would have raised the price of the board by $10. So instead of like a $45 board, we would have been selling a $55 or a $60 board just to put that chip on there. I was like, forget it. It's not worth it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think right now for most people there's any reason to purchase an H7 because, like you said, I don't think much takes advantage of that. But I think it's really cool that there are both options for people.
Yeah, fair enough. And then, for future proofing, although you buy in a 55 amp rated all-in-one, I don't think the future is your concern. It's not going to last that long. No, maybe it will. I shouldn't say that because it sounds like I'm hate. Yeah. iFlight's going to be like, no, we designed this to be super durable and super reliable. This is the one. And I don't want to take that away from them. I've never flown it. So
what I would say is with any of these AIOs, I would look for reviews and I would look for other people that flew them because all of these are going to be based on like what the filtering looks like and what the power ratings look like and how it flew for people and even how the gyro is mounted, what the gyro quality is, how the heat's distributed. All those things are important. So I would definitely look for reviews and people to fly this before you write it off, but also like don't expect it to be a killer before we see people let you know that it is.
I will say iFlight feels really hungry.
Yeah,
iFlight 100%. Feels like they are hungry and working hard. Why'd you make this product? This is a very difficult product to make in a very difficult market to crack. And they could have just kind of crapped out another F7. Not that that's what they do, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead, they were like, we're going to make this. And we're going to put an H7 on it. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe.
Yeah, this could have easily had 30 amp FETs and had a worse layout. And yeah, like many of other toothpick boards we've seen come out. So.
Well, since we talked about the iFlight F7 and H7, it's worth at least mentioning that BetaFPV also has an F7 toothpick flight controller out there. BetaFPV actually has several of these with F4 processors from all the way down to like 12, 15 amps, all the way up to like 35 amps, depending on what you're building. Now they have an F7, 32-bit ESC, very nice, BLHeli 32. 35 amp, just 35 amps though. So not quite as much as the iFlight. Yeah. And $80. Okay. Well, here's the big question, Blunty, right off the cuff. Can you see any reason to buy this instead of the iFlight one for $70 or $90?
No, just absolutely not. Nope.
I'm trying to look at the pad layout and see if there's the bootloader button is more accessible.
True. That's fair. Yeah, I can't imagine why you would buy this over the iFlight option. It's got better FETs on it. It's cheaper. It seems like they put a little more work into it, to be honest with you. Like, if you look at the layout on their board, I really like it better. But yeah, this is an option. I just don't know that at the price point it makes much sense for many people.
Yeah. Not with iFlight out there at that price. Yeah, okay.
So next up, let's talk about Ummagawd. He's got a Moongoat frame that's come out, and I think it looks pretty promising.
Moongoat.
Yeah, I think this thing looks really neat. And the main thing, I think, is the weight and the layout looks just really interesting.
Well, is this Cricket's frame? Ummagawd designed it for Cricket, right?
Believe so?
I think so. Because Cricket was showing this off at the protest in Washington in like January. We were like, when's it coming? And I think this is it. So I'm looking at this frame. It looks like it's got maybe 5mm, maybe 6mm arms, just because I know Cricket likes them thick. Because he hits it hard. Put that on a t-shirt. Looks like a 3mm plate. I mean, I would guess 130 grams for the metal front end. Is that carbon or metal? I can't tell. It's
looks like metal in the middle and then carbon on the outside.
I see. So I would guess 130 grams, 125 grams. What's it weigh?
I think we're, sorry, I don't have it up, but I think we're right around 110 grams.
Oh, wow.
And I think a lot of that is from the carbon that he cut out of the top. They did, and the bottom has got a lot of carbon as well, but I think that's the place you want it to go from.
I see.
I think I'd much rather have the thick carbon on the arms and lose some carbon there. I mean, how often have you actually broken a bottom plate versus an arm? I break arms all the time.
Yeah, this is an interesting decision. He's done this milling here to remove weight, but he hasn't milled all the way through.
Right.
Is that to like leave the top plate flat? Why wouldn't you just mill it all the way through, I wonder?
I imagine if you model this, that it's more, it has more structural integrity if you leave some like small layer of carbon there.
Interesting. You're probably right. It adds just a little bit of strength, but
yeah,
not
for the weight difference, Overall, I really like the look of this frame.
Yeah. What I find so interesting about it is FPVCycle Glide. When I think of lightweight but tough freestyle frames, I think of like the FPVCycle Glide. That comes in, there's an 85 gram version, which uses like 2mm carbon. That's not what I'm talking about. But there is it's the Glide Hammer. Where's this, the regular Glide? So this is 100 grams. Okay, it's 10 grams lighter. It's 10 grams lighter. It's around 100 grams. And it clearly looks like a lightened frame. It looks like it doesn't feel tough. It is tough. People who fly it say it's tough. But that looks tough.
Yeah, they look to me like two totally different classes of frame, and the fact that they're only 10 grams in difference is really interesting to me. I definitely want to see people fly it, but if you said it's a Cricket frame, I imagine Cricket is beating the heck out of it right now.
He doesn't, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm very curious about this. I'm very curious about it. I'm curious, I mean, field testing, you can say you've tested it, but when you sell 500 of them, then you really find out where your defects are. Tommy is a great frame designer. I think this is a really interesting frame. I'm very curious to see how it comes out. Speaking of Ummagawd, let's go from frames to motors. We got a whole bunch of motors. There's always new motors that come out every month. And there's only so much you can say about a motor without flying it, but we're going to at least take a look at them. And the first one we're going to take a look at is the Ummagawd Aerolite. Take a look at this motor. What do you think of this thing?
I think it looks like a beautiful motor. And I think it's interesting because this is another example of let's cut out anything we don't need. You can see
a closer look.
You can see like the edges of just, it looks like to me, we've taken out just the things we don't need for structural integrity on this motor bell.
Yeah.
We've cut out just enough metal, so we've lightened it up as much as possible. We've cut all the little pieces. We've got just as big enough arms. We've got just enough arms, like those sorts of things. It looks engineered really well. I hope, I'm assuming, because it's Ummagawd too, that it holds up really well. And if that's the case, then this seems like a really quality motor to me.
Yeah, it's a T-mount. So this is a 2004 size T-mount for the lightweight. Is it for 5-inch, for 3-inch, 4-inch?
I would imagine 5.
2004. Yeah, 2004 for 5-inch. You could run smaller on it, I guess. It's like depending on the KV. What KV does it come in? 2400. Is it only 2400? Yeah, 1600 and 2400. So that's 5-inch props on 4S and 6S. He's focusing on 5-inch. Now, This is interesting because he's got the Acrobrat, which is a 3-inch heavy-ish. It's not, you can get an Acrobat under 250 grams if you try really hard. But this class of motor to me feels like the sub 250 class. Is that what he's targeting here?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure actually. Because it definitely, let's see, ideal lightweight 5-inch motor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, target all up weight of 300 grams. So
yeah, okay. So there you go. That's where people are going for these lightweight 5 inches. But I mean, I guess I kind of don't see the point. If you're going for 250 grams, I know why you're doing that. It's a legal requirement. If you're going to build a 251 gram 5-inch, why don't you just build a 400 gram 5-inch and make your life easy? I guess that's the big question.
Sure. I guess at that point it has to be about like flight quality and like flight performance and how it feels. But I can't imagine. I don't know. I guess if you think about it, right? I think you talked in one of your reviews about moving up from like 600, 700, 800 gram quads. If you think about the difference in weight there that you felt from a 6 to an 800 versus like we're talking about a 3 to a 400 gram quad, that's 33% more weight. I bet there's a big difference in feel.
Yeah. Yep. I just think you give up a lot in durability when you get down at that weight. So I don't know. Maybe everybody seems to be going that direction. And I assumed when they were going that direction that it was because they were anticipating a world where we had to fly under 250 grams. But when Tommy says he's targeting 300, he's got to have another good reason to do it. But I mean, he wouldn't do it if he didn't have a good reason. So very interesting. I mean, this is clearly a novelty motor. What is it? It's a 2207 or 2306. It looks like a freaking Halloween pumpkin.
Yeah, the craziest thing to me is these seem to have made it out pretty late, because I don't remember seeing these until just a few days before the end of October. So I'm not sure anybody would have gotten these on time for Halloween.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It's November.
Yeah.
When did these come out? I mean, they're still in stock, so either they came out too late or they didn't sell well. I don't know what here's the thing that stands out to me. Has the market gotten big enough that we can just release one-off novelty motors? I guess so.
Because they made a 4S and a 6S, so it certainly seems that way.
Well, I guess for $14, it's a T-motor motor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to find good things to say about it.
If you wanted a motor that looks like a pumpkin, this is your motor.
That's right. Premium components. I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of specs, does it? Like, what bearing is used? I'm sure it has bearings. It doesn't really say. Get into the, I don't know.
It's also a 34 gram motor, so it's not light either.
Oh my God. Is it? Oh my God. Including cable. Yeah. What was T-Motor thinking?
It's cool to see this stuff, but also I don't really understand the point of it.
It's not even like they had a whole bunch of orange bells and they were like, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
I know. It's Halloween.
Let's cut holes in them.
They freaking made, I have no idea what it's a $14 T-Motor motor that looks like a pumpkin. Let's move on.
Yeah. And from a motor that we don't really know the point of to a motor that I definitely know the point of is the Eco II. The Emax has a new Eco II series out. These are actually cheaper than the pumpkin motors, and you can paint them orange if you wanted to.
They are. Yeah, the Ecos have always been a really good budget motor in like the roughly $14-ish price range. These are even cheaper. These are like $12 for a 2207. It's like a really good looking bell.
Yeah, these look like a really premium motor. And the early reviews that I saw were pretty positive on these. This is a motor I definitely am going to give a try at some point when I order, if I order cheap motors again, because these seem pretty solid.
Kebab liked them. He made a video. Why buy a 27? Should anyone buy a $27 motor? And he was basically saying all motors are more or less the same, and these are decent motors. The other argument he made, and maybe you can weigh in on this, he said they all pretty much fly the same. He said something like that, and I thought, on day one, they all fly pretty much the same. But I think some more expensive motors hold up a little better. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely bearing quality, and bearing size is another thing Bob talks about a lot. Is if you can fit even a millimeter bigger bearing, then that's going to have way better heat dissipation. That's going to be way better at basically greasing itself internally. And so I would think that. That's a better option. The thing is, Bob talks about a lot is, you're spending $6 to make small improvements in motors a lot of times with like a better quality magnet or a better quality bearing. And the question is, how long is that going to last, and how much difference does that make for people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You pay a lot to get that. Like if you buy an $8 motor, like a DYS Samguk, which isn't even made anymore, although you can still buy them, that's got so many corners cut that it'll fly. And I'm not saying you should never buy it, but it's really objectively just a poor motor. But it costs $8, so who cares? You go from an $8 motor to a $15 motor, and now you got a really solid. You got like the Honda Civic of motors. It's a pretty good motor.
Yeah, and the other thing I think about is like, why do people buy Honda Civics? It's because they crash them. And so like you don't want to buy a Corvette if you're just going to crash it into a wall, especially as a younger person. So I think these are a great option too. If you're like a new pilot, you're probably going to break this motor before you get to a point at which this motor bearing is going to wear out or something like that,
Yeah, I totally agree. Brand new pilots should not buy $27 motors. Even if they fly a little better, you're not going to notice the difference because you're a beginner and you're going to destroy it. And when you destroy it, you'd rather destroy a $12 or $15 motor, definitely. And they're like, well, but aren't the more expensive motors more durable?
I think by and large, like that might be true, but the question is how much extra durability are you going to get when you slam the motor 60 miles an hour into the concrete because you don't know what you're doing?
Yep, bingo. Yep. They might be a little more durable, but they're not that much more durable. Everything breaks when you smash it into the wall. All right, so Emax Eco II. Great. So what is this? This is another Emax motor. It's a $10. Oh, it's marked down. It's a $17 motor marked down to $10, so I guess it didn't sell that well. Or something. Emax Freestyle 2208, 2500 kV, and N25. Can that be right? That's got to mean N52, right?
I would assume so. Yeah.
I don't know.
It seems. I don't know why it would be on sale already, though.
Seems like an unremarkable motor. I mean, maybe it's a great motor, but nothing like jumps out about it.
Also, why would you name it Freestyle when you have a Tiny Hawk Freestyle?
Yeah, this is a confusing motor, but it's $10. It doesn't feel like it's got EZO bearings, so it's not like it's a super budget motor that they did a limited run to put in a box or something. Yeah, it's $10.
So from motors to props, let's look at the new HQ Ethix P3, the peanut butter jelly props.
It's peanut butter jelly time.
It is peanut butter jelly time.
Continuing the trend of Ethix making props based around like food-based pairings. The watermelon. Oh, watermelon is not a pairing, is it? And the lemon lime. And now peanut butter jelly. What's the next prop going to be that he comes out with?
Oh, I don't know.
What do you got? A pineapple pizza. It's going to be a red and a yellow. No, that's ketchup and mustard. Ketchup and mustard.
That's actually probably.
I called it.
Yeah.
Mr. Steele. Ketchup mustard props. So what are these? These are 5.1 by 3 by 3.
These are almost an S3. Like essentially these are an S3. And so I'm not super sure the reason for these. I would like to fly them and see how much difference you actually feel. But, S3 is a 3 or 5 by 3.1 by 3. And this is a 5.1 by 3 by 3. So there's not a huge difference in the prop.
It's a little longer.
Yep.
And a little lower pitch.
A little lower pitch, yep.
It seems like when HQ started releasing the V1S props, before that, they were all 5 by 4.5, 4.8, etc. They were 5-inch props. And then with the V1Ss, they started going to 5.1. And it does seem like that is a direction a lot of prop manufacturers have gone, with slightly longer and slightly lower pitch props. So maybe that's just the direction they're going here.
Yeah, I think the idea is you add a little more weight instead of adding the pitch. But yeah, it seems like an interesting, you get a little bigger disc, and definitely the early reports have been really good on these. I think a lot of people like the S3, S4, S5 series. There's just another prop in that series, so I think that's pretty cool.
So this is the Gemfan Hurricane 5125. 5125. It's a 5.1 inch, 25 pitch. That's such a low pitch prop.
Yeah, this is right at my alley. I think I'm the opposite of a lot of pilots. I don't like speed. I like slow, and like I run 4S on 6S motors very commonly because I really enjoy the feel.
Really?
Yeah, and so this seems to me like the perfect prop. So I definitely am going to give this a shot.
Well, I've done that. In fact, when Betaflight 4.2 came out, I flew a 6S quad on 4S without realizing it was a 6S quad. It was a new quad I had gotten for a review, and I forgot which KV motor they put on it. And I do want to say in my defense, I did think it was flying weird, but I was like, oh, I guess Betaflight 4.2, I don't know. And I tuned it. And then I was like, oh, these are 1900 kV motors. I think a lot of people would be surprised at how flyable 1900 kV is on 4S.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about how long you spend at the top 30% of your throttle when you fly your 4 or your 6S quad, I think that's kind of how you have to think about it. If you're not living up there the whole time, then you're not going to miss it. And then it gives you more resolution on the bottom end, which is where I like to have it. So I can do a little more low throttle stuff and tick-tocking and that sort of thing. Yeah.
This one has both 5mm and T-mount. So it's both. It looks like you can mount it on both kinds of motors. Is that true?
I don't know if Gemfan has the rights to this technology because they have it on a lot of their different props. But I really love this. I think I would love to see more people go with this style where you can.
Or you think they might have patented it or something?
Yeah, because they've had this like on the Wind Dancers, the 3 inches has this as well, and I think this is a really cool thing. So.
Isn't there, it's not shown in the picture, but isn't there like a little insert that goes in if you're going to use the T-mount?
Yep, there's a little plastic insert, and then it just gives you the T-mount layout without having to have a different prop. And I've never seen it break at the hub. I've never seen any issues there. I don't think that's where you ever see a prop break anyway, typically like inside the hub. So it doesn't seem to give any design issues, and it's just a benefit for customers.
It feels to me like this prop, like you look at props like the Johnny FPV Azure props, and they are super low pitch. The Johnny FPV props actually aren't, they're like 4.8 inch diameter. And it feels like what these pilots are doing is they're stepping down. Even if you look at like Mr. Steele, the S3 props, they're going to these low pitch props, trying to get smoothness and controllability at the expense of thrust. And I guess I see the logic in that. At the same time, 5125, I mean, I guess I would have to give it a fly, but it feels to me like that's going to be super underpowered for a lot of people's style of flight. Unless you're maybe pairing it with like an ultra lightweight, like an ultra lightweight sub 250 or maybe 300 gram.
Yeah, I think quite a few people either really like or really hate the feel of an S3. And I think that's kind of the idea is going to be with the same with this prop is if you like that light flying, that low thrust, that better throttle resolution situation, I think, these will be in your boat. But if you're just looking for, to get out there and go, and you live in high on the throttle, like I said, I think that's where you're looking for a higher pitch prop.
Yeah. Now you live in, where do you live?
Denver. So yeah.
You live in Denver, famously high altitude.
Yeah, and I still run low pitch props, but like most of the people I know out here run an S4 instead of an S3 just because the S3s perform so low. Like I know Mr. Steele recommends that an S4 at this elevation or an S5 up in the mountains versus an S3 at sea level.
All right. I try to add at least one kind of just silly thing into each of these. And this month, the weirdo silly thing is... Now, let me paint a picture for you. I'm going through the list, get ready for this video, and I go to the new products category on GetFPV, RaceDayQuads, all the different websites. And I see this and I think, oh, Bachgrinder's been getting into trucks. Maybe they're selling an RC car? And then I see that it's $6,000. Well, $5,500. Sorry, my bad. It is the Lumenier Custom Payload Unmanned Ground Vehicle. The Lumenier small tactical unmanned ground vehicles are designed for intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, as well as payload delivery needs for military and civilian public safety applications. What kind of payload do you think they're talking about?
I have no idea. And I just think this is wild to see on GetFPV. Also, the idea that you can't just order it, you need to get a quote.
Yeah.
This is like a commercial product, It's really interesting. Do you know anything about like what are we using here? Is this like a traditional FPV system? We're just using a GTX?
I have no idea. I mean, okay, so what can we tell? I don't know. You could tell there's an Axie on there, so that's 5 gig.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's 2
Lumenier
cameras?
does a lot of development of different products, right? They have in-house development.
Like, what is on the left side? Like, is that like for like a rocket or something? Like, what is that?
I don't know. Is that the payload?
I don't know.
It's got an on-off switch here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Look right here. XT60.
Oh, yep.
Maybe that's for the battery. Maybe this is where the battery goes.
Oh,
XT60 plugs here, on-off switch.
Yeah, big old battery goes in there.
So the big question, I'm not actually that surprised to see that Lumenier makes stuff tailored towards, like, I know there's other companies out there that are kind of tailored. They're doing military contracts. They're doing public safety contracts and so forth. I'm a little surprised to see this turn up in the new products listing on the GetFPV website.
Yeah, the fact that they're selling it on GetFPV is, I would say, the part that's a little odd. But hey, maybe they'll sell a couple of these to people who are interested. Yeah. $5,500 is yeah.
Purpose built for discrete options.
I'm trying to think of applications for consumers for this thing.
Yeah.
Paintball. It's like
oh, now you're talking. Now you're talking. Anyway, I have no idea, but I feel like there's a world here that we're getting sort of a peek into.
Yeah.
And then like the door is just slammed in our face. GetFPV, if you want me to review one of these, send it on over, and I'll drive it around my yard.
That would be cool.
Anyway. Payload delivery. I don't think they're talking about pizzas.
All right, so now back to real quad things. Let's look at 7-inch builds. I think these are interesting because you've been flying a lot of 4-inch lately, right? Doing long range?
Yes, I have. I've got reviews of the Flywoo Explorer, the iFlight Chimera, the GEPRC Crocodile Baby, and I have the Catalyst Machine Works Shocker, and one more. Oh, I'm blanking. I have one more, and I'm going to be reviewing them all, doing a roundup. It's such a cool category, that 4-inch lightweight long range. So cool.
Yeah, so are you thinking about checking these out to see how the 7-inch compares to the 4-inch? I know that seems to be a popular thought lately is, what's the point of the 4-inch versus the 7-inch, and where's the world supposed to be for, long range?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's the question. I mean, a lot of people, when you talk about long-range cruisers, they would say 7 inches is like the minimum for efficiency and flight time. But these 4-inch guys will fly for 20, 30, maybe even more minutes, have miles of range, and it kind of makes you wonder, what's the point of one of these big guys? Because these come in 300, 400. It's actually not that bad of a price, especially with DJI on it, frankly. But they're just going to have a lot more to break when you crash, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot more to them. There's a lot more quad there. And I know for a lot of people that, I don't know that's a benefit. Like a 4-inch is easier to fly in a lot of places. It's a lot less scary for people. And as you said, there's less to break, if you're breaking components, they're smaller and that sort of thing. So,
yeah, I think one place where the 7 inches is going to have an advantage is in the wind. If you're flying like a mountain ridge and there's a lot of turbulence and wind, you're going to see that a lot more on the smaller, lighter quad. But there's just a certain kind of carefree enjoyment. Like when I put the Beast class up, every minute of it is terrifying because anything that goes wrong is going to be a huge, expensive disaster. But you put, and like, then you go down to 7 inches and that's not quite as true, but it's still, but then you go down to 4 inches and you're flying a little 4-inch. What? It's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just do whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyway, here are these guys, these 7-inch cruisers from, oh, by the way, Flywoo and GEPRC, what are you doing? Flywoo Mr. Croc, GEPRC Crocodile. What is it about? Y'all got to name it a crocodile. Figure out which one of you is using crocodile and make up your mind. Thank you.
Alligator? Is that another option?
Right. There you go. One of them needs to be an alligator. That's good. Flip a coin. Flywoo gets alligator, GEPRC gets crocodile, or vice versa. Because Flywoo has the baby crocodile too. There's their 4-inch. I don't know. It's ridiculous. So the next product is this Hawkeye 48-channel FPV monitor with internal battery. Here's what I'm thinking about this one. Blunty, do you have one of those FPV watches?
I don't. I have friends who have the FPV watches. They seem to be pretty popular when we go out to fly.
Yeah, just little tiny screen FPV receiver. You wouldn't fly off it. I mean, but you could like just use it to check your video or something. Well, this feels, I mean, those things are like $40. And they have a little tiny 1-inch, 2-inch screen. This is a 3.5-inch screen. Looks like maybe it's a little better quality. It's $45. Maybe worth throwing in.
Yeah, set it up on the car, watch your friends fly. Everybody can kind of, give it a watch while you're all hanging out and talking. I think that's pretty cool. We've done that with other monitors before. And I think it gives a fun flight experience for everybody.
Definitely good. I always try and have like a spare set of goggles or a screen if somebody comes walking by.
Yeah.
Give it to them to spectate, use it on the bench to troubleshoot. Like it sucks when you're setting up your OSD to like have to put your goggles on and then look at your computer and then put your goggles on. So just having a spare screen, and it's basically the one place I could see you really wanting those little FPV watches. A lot of people stick them on their controller. In that case, the smaller size is better. This is almost the same price. And so anyway,
you could probably 3D print them out for that to go on a controller too.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, let's look at some ISDT chargers. We've got quite a few of them from ISDT.
Indeed. Let's see if I can get them all on screen. Okay, there we go. I've arranged them all so good. Okay, go.
All right. So we have all these ISDT chargers. This is interesting. There's quite a layout here of options for people.
Yeah, the P30 at 1500 watts at 30 amps is more charger than almost anybody needs. Even if you're doing like big parallel charging boards, like that's just a killer, and it's $188. Most people are going to be better served, I think, with a dual channel, maybe 300 watt, 400 watt charger, because you can charge 2 channels at once, and it's going to be even cheaper than that. Like you could almost get 2 Hobbymate D6s or HOTA D6s for that price and have 4 channels at 300 watts. But if you would need a 1500 watt 30 amp charger, you know who you are. P20 500 watts 8S, $118, single channel. Dual channel. Oh, that's kind of compelling. Built-in power supply or DC only? I think it's DC only.
Yeah, it does look like DC only. I think all these are DC only. Oh, that first one might not be. Right. It's got a big heatsink on it, but I guess it's probably 1500 watts, so that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, it says DC. The P10, 250 watts, 10 amps, $55 for DC only. Dual channel. Is that good? Is that a good deal?
It seems pretty good.
It's interesting.
My gut says that's pretty good. What's a HOTA D6? HOTA D6 does AC, but it's 112. DC 650 though.
Yeah, so like what does it compare to? I got to find a good product listing here.
So I think the HOTA D6 compares to the P20. And it's still a little better than the P20 because it has AC.
Yeah, so here's the HOTA D6 Pro. 200 watt, $105, 200 watts, 650 watts DC. It has a built-in AC power supply. That price-wise is close to the P20, which is 500 watts DC only, and is more expensive. The HOTA D6 also has touchless charging for your phone. Kind of nice.
8S? Does the HOTA do 8S or 6S?
It does not. It's 6S only.
So that's
if you need 8S charging. Yeah. I'm trying to think what compares, like the ISDT Q6. This beats the pants off the ISDT Q6. 300 watts. It's like $60. 300 watts, single channel.
Yeah. Oh, single channel. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Q6 is just, it's dead. Don't buy it. Yeah, it's interesting.
I wish these had AC.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Do you have a DC power supply at home?
I do. Yeah, I actually have an old Xbox power supply I cut open and used.
Oh, nice. I'll give you a couple, like 300 watts or something.
Yep. Yeah,
some people, especially beginners, prefer a charger with a power supply built in. You'll always get more output from a charger by using a separate DC power supply. I think eventually you're probably going to move that direction, but
yeah, I think anybody on the long haul will eventually get a DC power supply for sure.
And then you got the D1 here, which is a single channel 6S. Is that right, D1? Oh, that's AC/DC. Okay, so there's one with a built-in AC power supply. 100 watts on AC, 250 watts on DC, 10 amps. Yeah, so it seems like the Hobbymate, the D6 Duo, just stomps that at $100.
Yeah, this seems like maybe the replacement for the 608 AC, but it's a little more, it's kind of too expensive, I think.
Yeah, the 608 AC... You say replacement. I don't know. Are they getting rid of it, or you just...
Well, just like, it seems like right around the same idea, because it's 50 watt AC DC 200.
That's $60. This is $80. Has a power supply that detaches from it, which is clever. 50 watts AC. This is 100 watts AC. So I feel like I would take the D1. It's $80. It's $20 more. And it doesn't have the detachable power supply, but who cares? It's not that big.
Right.
But it has a lot more output. Yeah. Anyway, some new chargers there from ISDT. There's another charger that I have. I actually have this on the table behind me. You probably can't see it, but I've been testing it for the last couple weeks. This is the HOTA P6. It's a dual channel, 15 amp, 600 watt DC only charger. It's pretty small in the hand. It's $80, and it can be used with this, a 240 watt power supply for $45. And it has they have magnets inside them, so they'll stick together if you want to.
Oh, neat.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah. It's good that they offer an option like this. I think a lot of people don't offer a comparison or a companion DC power supply for their equipment.
Yeah, indeed. And what's weird about this one, though, is so HOTA, first of all, HOTA and Hobbymate are the same product. They're sold under different brands, but they're like literally the same product. So you may see this sold as a Hobbymate. But if you compare this again to the D6 Duo that we looked at earlier, D6 Duo is 200 watts on AC, I think. Maybe 250, I can't remember. I think 200. And has a built-in power supply and costs $100. So this one, you're going to spend $125 for 250 watts.
Yeah. Seems like they should have like a 500 watt power supply or something, a 600 watt power supply. So you get the whole...
There you go.
The whole body of the charger there.
Yeah. I guess the big advantage is that you can split this up, and the P6 is smaller than the D6 Duo. If you wanted to stuff it in a backpack and take it to charge off your car battery, then the D6 Duo takes up more room and weight. But I feel like the D6 Duo was one of those products that was so good at such a good price that it kind of spoiled me for all the new products that come after it. I'm like, well, why don't I just get a D6 Duo?
So last month we looked at the Axie HD DJI digital combo set, the antennas for the goggles. And I believe you did a review of those.
Mm-hmm. I've had them on my goggles. Well, they're stuck on, but I actually do like them. I've had them on my goggles ever since.
And now we have a couple of different options. We have the Crystal HD from iFlight, and we have the ORT DigiEyes patch. Both these seem like they had the same idea. I do like the Crystal HDs. The idea of replacing that front cover is really neat, and they have designs.
Oh. So the Axie HD sticks on the front cover. This one replaces the front cover entirely.
Yeah, and they are offering designs, and it's all integrated and that sort of thing. I think it's a pretty neat idea. And then it looks like
$45.
Yeah, and it looks like the DigiEyes patch is the same idea as the Axie HD, where you're just sticking those guys on the front.
Oh, I see that. I see. Yeah, okay. So the DigiEyes sticks on the front like the Axie HD. It's I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it's a Pagoda antenna. Pagoda is a good antenna. One of the things I like about the Axie HD is even with these little Axies on here, it's just thin enough and small enough to stuff in a backpack without like having to take it off.
Right.
I don't know if it's just the shape of those pagodas that makes me kind of suspicious.
They do look like they might catch on something, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. They're not rounded. You can't argue with the looks of the iFlight, though. The looks of that, it's gorgeous.
I think it is fair. Like if you go on the iFlight there, if you add the Omnis, because the other packs have the Omnis, so the price comes to be more fair.
Oh, that's true. No, well, the Axie HD is $70 for the patch and the Omnis. This one is $52 with the patch and the Omnis, and then the iFlight is $45 for the patch only. But I see you can order it here with the Omnis, and it goes to $56. That's actually, we know the Axie. I mean, the Axies are very good antennas.
Right.
We don't know much about these Omnis. They do look stubby. Anyway, we can certainly look at the specs. I think the specs are pretty similar for these guys. 9 dB of gain. The Axie HD is in the 10-ish dB of gain, and everybody claims perfect axial ratio, so it doesn't really mean anything. That's interesting. Well, I know which one looks the best. That's for sure.
For sure.
I know the ORT is only 7.5 dB of gain, so it's a little wider and a little lower gain.
So it's probably better for pilots who look down, right?
Yeah, definitely. But on the other hand, not as much of a difference between like just having Omnis on there.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Going from 2 dB to 10 dB is a pretty big jump. Going from 2 to 7 is not as noticeable. So last month we gave away 4 Ghost starter packs. This month we should give away, let's check the price. I think the Tracer is a little cheaper.
Yes, it is.
Let's check. I mean, it's, yeah, $130. It's not that much cheaper. Okay. So we're going to give away 4 of the TBS Tracer Micro TX, or Nano TX, depending on which size you want. You can get it as a JR Bay Micro, or the light style if you have an X-Lite or something like that. Can you put it? I assume you can put it on an X-Lite. We'll give away 4. How to enter the giveaway? Do not leave a comment. There is instructions. There is down in the video description. After all the timestamps and after all the product links, there are instructions for how to enter the giveaway. There's a link to a Google form that you need to fill out. That's how you enter the giveaway. The cutoff will be midnight, the 10th of November. I will do the drawing. I will email the winners to let them know, and I will do an announcement here on the video. That's going to do it. Man, thank you. This is so much more fun to do with you hanging in there, Blunty, and having you to bounce off of.
Yeah, I had a blast, man. This is always fun. It's fun to look at all the new products and go back and forth about it and stuff. I think it's good insight we can give people, and I just like doing it.
I learn about new products that have come out. I'm like, oh, I got to try that. There are links to all of these products down in the video description, and they are affiliate links. And that means that if you make any purchase after you click one of those links, then I get a little commission. And that's a great way for you to help support the channel. If you're at the end of this video, it's probably like an hour and a half you've been listening to us talk, so you must have enjoyed it. So, click those affiliate links, and before you make a purchase, help us out. That's going to do it for this video, though. Blunty's channel is also... No one's watching anymore. Blunty's channel is also down in the video description. You got your own YouTube channel where you do tutorials and stuff. And thank you for coming out, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's going to do it for this one. Happy flying. You guys, I don't know where I am, and I don't know what's going to happen, but if I don't make it out of this, I just want to know that you subscribe to my channel, or maybe join my Patreon, or click one of these videos I picked out for you.